There we go. I can't reach my trophies. They're up on the top shelf. Hey, cool cats and swinging kittens. Welcome to another edition of Magic and Martinis Thursday, sponsored by and hosted by the Magic Word Podcast, with several of my guests who have been on the podcast in the past. Those were the lovely strains there of Mr. John Sturk from Chicago. Hey there, John.
Hey, Scotty. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here with us. And then also up from Michigan, or down from Michigan, we've got Jania Taylor with some of her trophies in hand.
But this is only a 4-H trophy. I never got a magic trophy.
Now, is that from milking a cow?
It's from showing sheep.
Showing sheep. Oh, that's close. Next thing I was going to say is shearing sheep or something like that. And then over down in Florida, we have Mr. Geoff Williams, who's got a couple of trophies also. Are those for sheep also, or cattle, or what are yours for?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had these many trophies on my lap. All of them. Oh, wow. Yeah, well, I don't have them all because there's way too many, but I'm embarrassed. I didn't know people were looking.
Hard to carry all those in at one time.
Yeah, well, let's see. No, this one is first place, most improved hygiene. So that was that one, and so the other
congratulations!
ones were not,
Congratulations
the
on that.
Not, the other ones were not nearly as important. So.
Yeah. Well, listen, first of all, I want to thank all of you guys very much for being in over here on week 4. It's a lot of fun, and always try to have a little bit different guests and have a good little mix over there. So this evening, it is Magic and Martinis, and so we've got a nice vodka martini that I'm drinking. What have you got there, Jania?
I have my gin martini, Bombay Sapphire. Well, no, I made a Cosmo this evening.
A Cosmo, okay.
Yep.
And Geoff, how about you?
I'm going a little dirty tonight with a vodka martini.
The vodka martini, awesome.
Yeah.
John, what you got there?
Well, I'm pretty bougie as far as my cocktails go, so all I got here is the Makers and Coke.
Sounds good to me. Cheers, everybody. I'm glad that you were here. Mine's a vodka martini, cherry vodka martini. Listen, again, I'm glad that you guys are here. And you'll notice also that 3 out of the 4 of us are actually wearing bowling shirts. These are not just regular bowling shirts then also. I'm going to turn this around. Let me know if you can see the back of this okay on there. Can you?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This was from Abbott's Magic get-together some years ago. And apparently that they've had in other years other colors, pink, and a hot pink, I guess you got over there, John. And also that we've got the lighter pink that you had, Jania. So what year was that? Do you remember?
This was 2 years ago, and the red shirt that you have was the 80th?
I think that's right. It was the 80th. Uh-huh.
Yeah. The final year of the Silly Shirt Society, you had color options. That was the only year you had color options.
Wasn't that 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago, yes.
Right. Well, why did you decide to go with that color, John?
What?
Oh, I decided to go with blue because I thought it would...
Is that blue?
Blue?
Well, no, my other one is blue. This is my red one. Okay, it's red, okay? I guess I was a little washed out.
Okay, it is. Oh, actually, it is red. I thought it was like
Yes.
purple or something. Okay, it's more like
No,
mine.
it's
Gotcha.
the same as yours.
Yeah, gotcha.
But the other one, I went with blue just because I thought it would read better with the embroidery.
Right. Well, we were talking about, which it does, we were talking about Abbott's just before we got on over here. And, of course, Jeff's not wearing a shirt because you weren't there one of the years, I guess, they were doing the shirts. You were there like when Jeff McBride was there, you were saying?
Yep. And so, I didn't know about the shirt thing.
Yeah, it was kind of we just had it like one night, I think, and they wore the shirt just for that one night, too.
Well, I think the origin of the Silly Shirt Society was instituted by those lovable scamps, Al Leone and Jeff Bibick. And for years, they would say, hey, they would gather an email list, say, hey, everybody, order this shirt and wear it on Friday night of Abbott's. And that continued on. And eventually, after, maybe 13 years of perfect attendance, I finally got invited to join the party. And that was the red bowling shirt year. And then it kind of stopped. They thought that was going to be the end of it. And then 2 years after, it had a revival, a reunion tour of the Silly Shirt Society, and they did one more year of bowling shirts, and that was the last one.
And the original gag started way before I even started going to the get together, because Franz Harari one year showed up in a 3-piece pink suit. And
You gotta be kidding.
no, and the next night, Al the Only, Jeff Bivick, and Steve Ryder each wore a piece of the pink suit. And so then to keep the tradition going, that's how the Silly Shirt Society came about. And then they would try to find the most ugliest, shirt, Hawaiian shirt. And each year they would invite a few more people. And I'm lucky to say I was the second female to be asked to join the Silly Shirt Society. Of course, Lori Allman, Lori the Onlyette, she got hers by default. She's married to Al. And then it just, like John said, you'd show up at the Friday night show and people would go, hey, what's with the shirts? How do you get one of those? And it was like this little secret cult society.
Yeah, because it's got our names and everything, on there as well. It's kind of cool as well. Now, Jeff, you've been to Colin. I should say, let me rephrase that. You've been to Abbott's Get Together.
I've been to the Get Together. Yes, loved it. It was one of my all-time favorite conventions.
What do you remember about this? Your experience?
Oh gosh. Well, to start things off, I check in to get I get my rental. Well, I'm getting my rental car, and they go, "Oh, what do you, making small talk? What are you going to do here in Michigan?" Well, I'm going to Colin. Oh, really? Yeah. What you got going there? Well, it's one of the huge magic conventions. It's been going on forever. It's the magic capital of the world. And they're like, what? You're a magician? And then all of a sudden, like 3 or 4 stations down, they all went, it's like, he's a magician? Yeah. Could you do something for us?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I did Miracle Coin Vanish. So for those of you who've been to my lectures, you take a $50, you put it down, near your knee and you rub it, it goes away. It's completely gone. And they upgraded me to this really nice car. And so it was like, awesome. So that was my first introduction to going to Colin was, people there love magic and I got a free upgrade. So I end up going to there and Boris Wilde was my roommate. I had the best time. Everyone treated me like I was really important.
Who was your roommate?
Yeah, it was Boris Wilde was my roommate. And so we had just met each other kind of in passing, and I knew a lot about him. I don't think he knew anything about me at all. Met him at 4F, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're roommates, and we just had a blast. He's just the nicest guy.
Now, did you stay in a house? I assume that Greg Bordner put you in a house. I mean, there are no motels, so you room with him like in someone's home that they rented for the week?
Yeah, it was a local preacher, and so
really?
So we had our own rooms and everything. It was very cool. I totally enjoyed it, and I thoroughly look forward to going back.
And you've only been that one time?
Just the one time, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, this year that the convention has been canceled, as I mentioned, but there are still people who are planning on kind of showing up and kind of mingling, saying, hey, what are you doing here? What's happening? And trying to do something. I mean, there's nothing. Greg Bordner and his wife have really, again, canceled this for obvious reasons, but they are trying to, there are several people who are going to be going and planning on just getting together, with some of the regular social kinds of parties and things they're having. So what do you know? I guess they're not having the street busking or anything, John, like they've had before, or you and Jania have been involved with? Or?
No, for the last, I don't know how many years, probably 10 or so, I've been coordinating some street performers to perform around the village, and that would be sponsored by the Colon Chamber of Commerce. Just something for, visit the non-convention attendees to have a way to enjoy some magic in the magic capital of the world. So that's not happening this year, obviously, and it's a bummer that Abbott's was canceled, but
it's not canceled. It's postponed until next year.
It's postponed until
nothing
the same
has been
dates.
canceled.
Right, I stand corrected, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, it's a bummer, but it's the right call, and that's fine. And I have this uh, little article and accompanying mini documentary from a website called The Verge.
Oh yeah.
They came and did and filmed like a 15-minute documentary about Abbott's and the magic capital of the world. I have a small cameo pulling a coconut on my hat. Um, but whenever I feel sad about um, the get together being postponed, or if have missed the feeling of being with my once a year Magic family, I watch that documentary and it makes me feel a lot better.
It's available on YouTube, isn't it?
It's available on YouTube and it's available on The Verge. If you search for The Verge, Magic Capital of the World, you'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a quote in there from our friend Trino towards the end of the article where he says, if it were canceled, we would all just show up anyway. And this was in 2014. So I think some of us are going to make sure we live up to that statement.
That's fun and funny
yeah.
also. Yeah, like going and just having some pizza or burgers or
Yeah.
playing golf or whatever. Mhm.
Yeah, we all are at this point are well educated on the safety measures we should be taking for coronavirus and all that stuff, and wearing masks and hand sanitizer and social distancing and all that. And for the people that go to try and have a little bit of normalcy or have that feeling again, some people are going to go visit. I plan to visit for at least 2 days. Just to hang out, just to enjoy some meals at the restaurants and talk shop with my friends. So,
When are you planning going up on Wednesday or Thursday?
actually, I was just going to go Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
I am fortunate that my day job has not been affected. So I had a work from home job starting in September, and it just continued on. So for me, I know I was very lucky. But I had saved up all my time off to go to FISM, North America, and to go to Abbott's. And
Yeah.
so now I have a lot of unused vacation time that I guess I'll just still use some of it.
We
Yeah.
have a guest room down here if you want to come on down and just hang out.
Really?
February would be nice for me.
Okay. Oh, okay. So Jania is going to be February, the first 2 weeks, and then we'll have to fill the other slots later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm easy. I'll come whenever you've got an opening.
Okay.
So you say you have a guest house or a guest room?
Guest room.
A guest room.
But it's got its own bathroom. It's got, nice television. It's, we can
Well,
put
one
a
of the things,
refrigerator in
I'm
there.
not sure that I'm going to be going up, but I hope to. I'm 80% in my mind. I'm planning on coming up.
Cool.
And if I do, I'm going to host a live podcast there. I believe I was going to be going to Five Star Pizzas, maybe with Carl Thornton, but I've talked, with, I think I may instead have it at John Sterlini's place because he's got a theater, and that way I won't be interrupting people who are reading or general patrons who are coming in and everything. So Tamara has invited me to use their theater, so I might do something there and just do a live podcast just to kind of talk with people who are hanging out and seeing what's going on. So I
Sure.
might have, and Al was planning on putting together the golf tournament, I think, on Friday morning as usual then as well. Now, what we're talking about, I mean, people are not necessarily all that interested. I mean, this is really a very small convention, very intimate and very camp-like. You're the one, I think, it seems like you, Jania, or maybe Al had coined Camp Colon. I mean,
I really feel it was me that coined Camp Colon because I used to stay in a cottage with maybe 5 or 6 other guys, and we had a 10-gallon hot water heater. And I would make them take military showers so we wouldn't, we wouldn't run out of hot water. And you'd have to take your pillows and your sheets and your fan because it's hot. And it reminded me of going to camp. So I started calling it Camp Colon because it's like camp for adults, people that don't understand the get together. It's because it's not your typical
convention in
it's
any
not in a hotel. I mean, where else can you go by boat after the show to the American Legion if you know the right people in town, the right locals, and they will give you a ride on their boat to the American Legion after the show where everybody gathers.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so unique, and that's why those of us who've been kind of grew up at the get together, because it was a Midwest convention, we need our colon fix. We need our to see our magic buddies, our magic family, and that's why some of us are still intending to go and, as we say, vacation in Colon, also to support a lot of our favorite restaurants because they've had a hard time during COVID, and there might be some things going on. I'm thinking if I'm going to go down on Thursday, I have a feeling, and I might throw my busker table out in front of 5-Star Pizza and do some magic. So things like that are going to happen, but I think it's going to be more spur of the moment, kind of. There'll be really not a planned event. It will be truly a get together.
The restaurant owners and the other business owners in Colon are part of the family too. Right. I think Kathy Earle, has owned Curly's for a long, long time, knows many of us by name. And the Dawn and Phil's Cafe and the M&M Cafe, those employees know us too. So it's not just the magicians that we like to catch up with.
Right.
That's true. It is a small town. What is it, like 750 people? I mean, it's not...
I don't know if it's quite that small, but, there's a no traffic light. There's a blinking red 4-way stop. There's 2 gas stations, although one grocery store, although they now have 2 dollar stores.
Wow.
And 2 bars between Curly's and the Legion, 3 restaurants, and 3 magic shops. So per capita, more magic shops than any other place in the world.
Yeah. John, we have anybody, by the way, on Facebook who's been posting any comments or anything?
Actually, I think our broadcast got interrupted again.
It's that lightning. We're going to blame it on Jeff. It's the lightning.
But keep going. Keep going.
Sorry.
We'll just post this video later. We'll keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's been interrupted. That's weird. I don't know what's going on over there with that. So I know that you, Jeff, have been attending other conventions. And what has been perhaps one of your most favorite conventions? Something that you've done, attended, or had fun? It's most memorable to you, whether it was a location where you've been overseas or something locally or what?
Well, I did a really fun convention in Adelaide, Australia. That was a blast. I did 2 lectures and 3 shows, and it was crazy. I had the best time down there. They treated me very nicely. As far as close-up conventions, I think Scott Robinson's, Tri-C, the Carolina close-up convention,
right.
They call it Tricks, that happens in October-ish, is one of the finest. It's absolutely incredible.
I've heard really good things about that one.
Why is that so different? Why is that special?
It's close-up, and they have people that come from out of they get these people who are underground names that all of a sudden, like Daniel Madison, he'll show, and like, I thought that was just a fake name. I didn't even know it was a real guy, right? And so they do that a lot. Steve Reynolds, who a lot of the magic world doesn't even know about him, but the people who are in the know, they talk about Steve Reynolds in very, very, austere, hushed tones, because he does the zero better than anyone ever. And it's that kind of thing. They have some, and then they'll have me in there. I was like their palate cleanser, between the 2 really, they're really good acts. And so I had the time of my life. I absolutely loved it. So, I mean, if you do get a chance to check it out, it's absolutely amazing. And then the one that I mourn to this day is Magic in the Rockies, which was in Fort Collins.
I've heard the Magic in the Rockies is great. They stopped doing that, though, haven't they?
They did. And it was Lou Weismisner and Bob Sheets and Doc Eason and Eric Mead, and everyone pitched in to to make the thing go great. And I went like 3 or 4 years in a row. I took Shelley to one. She didn't go to any of the, my wife, she didn't go to any of the lectures or workshops or anything. She went to the shows and she went to hang out afterwards and got to see Sebastian Clare, and all these insane, wonderful magicians who got to perform directly for her. And then they always had a bar show. And of course, Bob Sheets would close the bar show.
Is Doc Eason there also?
Yeah, Doc was there. Doc was amazing. Eric Mead was in it was so much fun, so it was kind of like Cullen, but it was they had a hotel. Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But it was.
I've heard they had like placemats and everything. I mean, like for the dinner and everything, and on the placemats they had everyone's face who were the performers.
Yeah, they did, and it was just really really incredible. And then 4F, as far as conventions go, that's family. I can understand how the get together, the people who go all the time. I get that feeling now because I've been going to 4F since 2009. And it was postponed this year. But it's a dysfunctional family from all over the world, really is what it is. I've got friends that I almost need an interpreter to speak with, although I've been getting pretty good at interpretive dance. So
one of the things I remember that you did at an early 4F convention was eat a light bulb, and you said you haven't done that before nor since.
Oh no! Before that, I'd done it several times. You don't do it too often because it's really bad on your enamel. I have no idea how Todd Robbins was doing it twice a day in Coney Island, for years. He literally should have had no teeth whatsoever. It's a bad idea. It's just a seriously bad idea. The very first time I ate a light bulb was not when I was just practicing it. I had a sign made up that said, "I'm an idiot. I have a mouth full of broken glass." That's what the sign said. Because I knew I wouldn't be able to talk at that point. And I ate my first one outside of an emergency room at a hospital. And
wait, you strategically chose to be nearest the emergency room for when you did this.
If you're gonna do something that's life-threatening stupid, do it right outside an emergency room, and then you can walk in, point at the sign, and then they go, "Okay, we'll fix you physically, but nobody's going to fix you mentally." So it's and Todd Robbins actually helped me. I talked to him later about it, years and years later, and he's like, "Oh, you were the guy," because I was very interested in all of the intricacies of it, because what I got out of the Swami mantra was not quite enough info, and it's horribly unsafe. It's not good.
I thought you were supposed to actually prepare your stomach, by getting it ready. I mean, little at a time.
Yeah, you eat bread. You want to eat some bread before and after, because for some reason bread brings out the correct type chemicals to help you digest glass.
Enzymes
I am
something.
Not kidding. You're literally, it's not a trick. You're eating glass. But you know what? I've told several people this. There is no other time in my life when I felt more alive than when I was standing on stage in front of 200 people and I'm swallowing broken glass. It just gives you a whole different outlook on life. And I gotta say, it's thrilling, and I'm glad I don't do it often. So,
wow.
Don't try it, kids. It's a very bad idea. If you're a kid, just Uncle Geoff is not a smart man. So don't go there. Seriously.
You're outside of an emergency room and nobody tried to stop you?
Well, no, I was in my car, but I was parked right there. I got the sign right there, and I was in my car, and I thought, okay, here we go.
Yeah, I get it. It's smart.
No, it's not smart, but it's the least dumb thing that I could do to minimize for this going downhill very quickly. But it worked out okay. And since then, I've only eaten maybe 10 light bulbs ever, but that's like 9 more than I was actually hoping to.
Hey, you guys, Luke Dancy's watching. Say hi to Luke.
Hey there, Luke. So glad Luke's in.
Great guy.
He enjoys martinis with us also whenever I get together with him. So whenever that you are doing it, in other words, I assume that this is for a very special audience. So you don't normally do this if you're doing like for a kid show type of thing. But you're just, eating glass if it's going to be for a client or a high paying gig or something.
Right. And it's few and far between, and they pay a lot extra, except for at 4F, I did it for free.
Yeah. Well, I'll never forget that. I'm glad you did.
Thank you. It was, I had Joan Caesar help me with that, I think. Yeah.
Joan Caesar, she didn't need any glass, did she?
No, but she gets to hold the trouble light because we put the bulb in the trouble light to show. It's not like one of these Hollywood sugar bulbs. It's real glass.
Oh, yeah.
And so she ends up breaking the glass with it's a little a chocolate hammer, for those people who are, she breaks it up like that, and I eat the big curved pieces.
Have you ever cut your lip or bled in your palate or anything?
If my wife is watching this,
then no.
I'll go with that.
Good poker.
Yeah, good poker face.
Yeah, I tell you what, here's the bad part. 2 days later, I get a piece of glass come out of my gum and roll into my mouth.
Oh, boy.
And what do? Swallowed it.
Swallowed, of course.
I'm just
okay, so
not the brightest person in this panel.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with cups and balls if that's okay, or licking rings.
The unasked question, which may be on people's minds, and that is, what was it like coming out?
Thanks for asking that. I've always wanted to ask.
See?
Well, let's see. It's can make a chandelier for you if you want.
Most people do balloon animals, but
no. In all fairness, the enzymes and stuff in your stomach can actually dissolve zinc, so glass doesn't stand a chance. And it literally, whatever did come out, if it was sparkly, it was probably pretty well rounded off. I try not to think about it, but it has never been an issue like, perforated colon or whatever. No, it's not going to, if you can actually get it into your stomach, you're home free. It's the windpipe and all that other stuff that you're passing is just so wrong. It's bad. Kids, don't. We're just joking. Nobody eats light bulbs ever.
What were you going to say, Jania?
I mean, you really have to chew it up to get it down your esophagus. I mean, you grind it up and.
Yeah, in fact, see, I needed to take time to get it small enough, and it takes a while. And so I had this flip chart that spoke for me. So it was kind of funny.
So when you did this on stage, did you use any musical accompaniment or anything else to like kind of fill the dead air?
No, I mean I had this flip chart that is gigantic. It's like one that they produce bowling balls out of, and I flipped through that, and it's got giant letters on it, and it's probably 20 pages long. So I mean it talks to the audience, and it's got some laugh stuff to be able to. That dead time, the whole routine though is a hoot. I mean the gal I get it to help me, from the audience, she has to sign a waiver and all sorts of stuff, and there's, I give her my ID card to show to the paramedics if need be. Oh, and there's a typo on there, it's, my blood type. It says A negative. It's supposed to be B negative. That was a typo. And we found out the hard way on that, but I'm okay. But every time I cough, I pee a little, and I cough several times through the thing, and I'm shoving toilet paper down my pants. It's it's something that you would probably see Channing Pollock do.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
Juan Tamariz.
He's well known for his TP work.
Right. Yeah, I think Lance Burton took it out of his show because it was just too freaking cool.
Wow. So how long is the routine? Like 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, it's about 12 minutes. And it's, it's got all the jokes.
Do you have a preferred brand of light bulb?
GE, it stands for Jeff's Entree.
He
Could also
knocked
stand
it out of
for
the
good
park.
eating. Yeah, I'm just taken from the routine.
I'm glad I teed that up for you.
Thanks, John.
Wow. Jania, you don't do anything quite like that. Most of yours is a stage routine when you're performing like in theaters and everything. Is that right?
Well, I always consider myself a general practitioner of magic. The more you can do, the more you're going to get booked.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a manipulation act, which is my favorite act to do, but unfortunately vaudeville's dead and there's no place to do it. So then I had to branch out in the corporate and strolling and kids and festivals and fairs and no light bulbs. My dad wouldn't let me do that.
Well, I know that you do a good manipulation act, and also you have a good lecture then as well in talking about marketing, as I recall.
I used to have a lecture called Getting a Gig as a Full-Time Job.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of a dated lecture because at the time it was all about direct mail and how I would direct mail, and I had this whole direct mail campaign because now so much is done electronically. I would have to like rewrite the lecture to update it, and that means I would have to learn all these things that young kids talk about, like Twitter and Instagram. But I do have a new lecture it's called Those Magical Dames, a look at the history of women in magic. And I really, really enjoy doing that. I feature 6 women. I start out with Adelaide Herman from the 1800s, moving through to my generation. And I just presented it I've only presented it twice for magicians. Before I'd only present it for lay audiences because I was asked to put together a lecture for Women's History Month at my local arts center here in Petoskey, Michigan. And that's how it started. And it's gone over twice. I did it at the Battle of Magicians in Canton, Ohio, and then just possibly the last magic convention of the year, the Winter Carnival of Magic, because after that everything was canceled. And those are the only 2 magician audiences that I've presented it for, but it's gone over very, very well for magicians. And it went so well at the carnival, and I thought I was going to get other magic convention bookings, and then everything took a dump, and Tom Fortune's like, "You're going to get phone calls, Jania," and of course I didn't because nobody's booking anything.
But wait, Jania, is this the kind of lecture that you could give as a virtual lecture for magic clubs across the world?
Yeah.
And how do they email you?
Magic,
if they're interested.
Magic, J-A-T, magicjat at magicbyjania.com. But really, I haven't even grasped this whole virtual thing yet. I'm bucking it. And
Don't.
You should.
No.
Now's the time to embrace it.
This is you got to dive in with both feet because on the one hand, yeah, we all got shoved into this situation very rapidly, and so we have to adapt very rapidly. But on the other hand, I don't think this is going to go away that quickly. So I think the virtual lectures are going to be happening still for a while. The upshot being that now we get to talk to people all over the world that we probably wouldn't normally be able to talk to.
That's right. At any time of the day or night, it seems like it doesn't matter whether you're going to be in London tonight, in Las Vegas tomorrow, in Chicago the next day. I mean, it makes no difference, time-wise.
Heck, you could do Las Vegas and London in the same day.
Same day, right?
That doesn't fill your gypsy vagabond heart.
Well,
I like to travel. I like to see things, and I feel like my wings have been clipped.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I have thought about the virtual thing for the lecture because my goal was then to sell it to art centers, because a lot of art centers have a lecture series, and I was going to sell a package deal, a magic show, like the lecture in the afternoon and the magic show in the evening. And I guess with this downtime, I could be working on that mailing list.
But not only that, you could also sell your show. You could do magic. For an example, John, could you do something virtually? Can you do something online right now?
Well, yeah, I think I could. So I was, I think like a lot of people, I've been doing some decluttering around my house.
Uh-huh.
I was going through, just trying to organize my closet. I came across my old bowling ball. When I was in
Bowling
high
ball.
school, I was a league bowler and all the way up through till. You know what? Now that I think about it, I kind of quit bowling about the time I took up Magic. If I were to line up those dates. But anyway, so I had the hankering. I found my old bowling ball. I had the hankering to go bowling, and I snuck across the state line to Kenosha, Wisconsin, to go bowling. I had a great time.
You were in a dry bowling county?
Yeah, I'm in a dry bowling state, Jeff. Bowling centers in Illinois aren't opening until Phase 4. Anyway,
I actually sponsored a bowling team one time in Omaha. My wife was bowling on the team, and back then I used to go by Great Scott, and so I had bowling shirts like these. On the back it said Great Scott, and I had them made for all the ladies who were on the team. And people who bowled against them asked them, said, "Is that a lawn service company?"
because of Scott Lawn Service, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I was saying was that kind of is what made me draw out the Colin bowling shirts again. I had this one cleaned a while ago. I hadn't put it on until today, and I actually, I'm not sure, but I think they may have left a pin in the sleeve.
Wow, that's a real pin. Very good.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael Mode. Ooh, so, yeah, that's an example of something you could do virtually. And I've been doing a couple of virtual shows.
Have you?
One for a paid client, and the rest to help out some theaters that are run by friends of mine. I can't get the shirt back on now, but what I learned at least about doing the virtual shows is that in some ways, yeah, sure, you feel like it's restricting, but I think it also gives me a kind of a bigger arsenal to use. Like I can do stand-up material like the bowling pin, but I can also do really close-up stuff. All I have to do is adjust where I am from the camera. So kind of going along with quarantine hobbies. I'm sure a lot of people have been doing picking up new hobbies that they never had before. I myself, like a lot of people, was not good at cooking before, and I think I've gained some skills since the start of the quarantine.
My hobby's house cleaning.
Yeah,
House cleaning.
exactly.
Come on down, help me clean my house. I can cook for you. You clean it.
Yeah, people are doing the KonMari thing all over the place, decluttering. Some people are learning more about crafts.
Yeah.
Crafts. So actually, this is one that I picked up. It's not exactly magic. It's actually origami. And of course, you all know origami, the Japanese art of paper folding. But few people know that if you do origami with money, it can be tricky. And that's what I have here, my tricky origami sample. Inside, I have genuine U.S. legal tender. And I'll share with you now the tricky origami folds. Here we go. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. Now you always unfold it the same way that you fold it, so it's 4, 3, 2, and 1. And people, you might want to put on a helmet so you don't make a mess when I blow your minds.
Holy cow, it's upside down.
Yeah, it's upside down because it was like this.
Right.
You don't seem that impressed, you guys.
It's a miracle.
No, okay, well,
I think
thank
you
you
have
for
to be
the...
a Boy Scout to do that, don't you?
I mean, I appreciate the fabricated enthusiasm, but you guys really don't realize that this is a dangerous trick. So dangerous, in fact, they actually put a warning on the box. And if you can't read it, it says, "Warning, fold and unfold only as an enclosed sample." Because if you don't, you actually run the risk of turning the bill inside out. If you've never seen an inside-out bill before, I'm sorry to say it looks a little something like this.
Holy cow!
Right?
Very
Now
good.
that's cool, but it's also a problem because if I try to go pay at 7-Eleven with this, and the 7-Elevens in Chicago are still open because Slurpees are essential. They're probably not going to take this bill, so I can fix it. I'm a magician. You always fold it and unfold it the same way. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then you unfold 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Yeah.
Very good.
And good to go.
That's a good presentation for that, by the way.
Right? Well,
Yeah.
my good friend Ron Bauer, Michigander, Detroiter, that's one of his routines. And thank you, RB, for that. I use it all the time.
I have all of Ron's booklets.
Yes!
All of them. In fact, I'm working on the one with the chick trick.
Yes!
Yeah. I've got some.
Got it. I guess my chick right here.
Yeah, I got some wonderful stuff for that. So maybe we'll have to talk.
Let's collab.
Because I know that he has other things like for sponge balls and coins and other kinds of little booklets that are just on one subject, right?
That's right. So it's a series of booklets, and the booklets are $10 a piece, which
Yeah, reasonable.
is a great trick.
Mm-hmm.
And the booklets are completely scripted. They will teach you how to do the stuff, and none of it's really knuckle busting.
So I get about coins and, a lot of classics. He's got a lot of classics in there, but they're all reworked and totally scripted, and they're super fun to do.
Absolutely. The egg bag routine that he published, that was a major influence for the egg bag routine that I ended up
Where can
going
people
with.
buy those,
At your favorite magic dealer. And make sure, please,
Going to be fewer and
please,
fewer of
everybody,
those brick and mortar shops.
go support your local magic dealer because the shutdown across the nation has not been kind to small businesses. If your magic shop has been closed, I hope they do a mail order for you. Greg Phillips has put the link to thinklikeaconjuror.com in the Facebook comments. You can buy it directly from Ron, or you can buy it from your favorite magic dealer, and I strongly suggest you do that.
While we're here, let me just mention, by the way, too, if you've not heard, that Dick Stoner's Fun Shop in Fort Wayne, Indiana, has, of course, been undergoing. It's a brick and mortar shop, but they were also vandalized during the riots recently.
No.
Yeah, so there's a GoFundMe for them to try to raise some money to repair some of the vandalism. Broke the windows, and I don't know what all happened, but it was not good.
Because Stoner's Magic Shop in Fort Wayne is the best magic shop I have ever been in. Because it's
Yeah, and Dick
organized.
is what, like 72 or something, 74, something like that.
So really, I mean, he didn't go out of, I mean, COVID.
No, he's still in business, but he's trying to put things back together. And I had read this on the Genie forum recently, and I went to his website and went to the GoFundMe, and they're looking to raise some funds.
No. Oh, that is just so sad. I'm sorry to hear that news because that is like one of the best brick and mortar magic shops, and Dick is.
Yeah, I agree that we need to try to help brick and mortar magic shops. On the Magic Word podcast, and one of the things we've been doing is having a thing called Magician's Relief Project. And for the last 7 weeks that we have been giving money towards to a magic shop, mostly a brick and mortar magic shops who are having these issues like we're talking about. And then they will have the amount of funds that will then be designated to go towards another magician. So there'll be a magician whose name has been randomly selected and anonymously as well. And then the magic shop is notified saying that these funds are to go towards this person. And that has been helping one person at a time and one magic shop at a time. And currently we have like $120 that's being divided, it has been like one magician. Starting next week, week 8, we're going to be doing 2 magicians a week because we have more people who have been coming in and saying we could use some support. We've also had additional people who have been adding their financial resources to help with this program. And so that's been really great. It was originally started by Betty and Gene Protis here in Houston. So I want to thank them very much for their financial support in getting this whole thing started. And then as they talked to me about this, I said, okay, let's figure out how we can do this, because obviously the magicians are going to be in a position where that they need to find out, well, we're gig employees. And so unless you're making some money from the government through the CARES, through CARES program, or the PUA, there are some kinds of things where you're making like $600 a week or whatever, that in addition to that, you're wondering, well, should I have dinner this weekend or, buy a magic book or something? Well, you feel good about yourself if you buy a magic book or you buy some magic of some sort. And again, it helps out a dealer who has overhead they've been having to pay and lease for the property that they have, et cetera. So I've been trying to help each person as much as we can, a little bit at a time. So that's been something that I've been glad to be a part of to get going here as well.
I put in some mail orders with our two of our local magic shops in Chicago, and back from my time when I worked at Fun Incorporated, I talked to every magic shop in the country, and some overseas. So a lot of these people are former customers of mine and my friends, and I know how hard they work, and I know how hard it is to run a brick and mortar magic shop. So, with my little bit of stimulus money, I tried to spread it around and place some orders.
That's good. That's good. I'm going to ask Geoff.
That's what I actually met John Sturk at Fun Inc. When I lectured there. It was amazing fun time.
Yeah, it was probably when we were at the old factory, and
it was upstairs. It was
upstairs. Oh yeah, that's the old factory, and I probably showed you the fake vomit manufacturing room.
Really?
Oh, classic. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
Fun.
that was neat. Yeah, I remember it had a whiteboard.
Yes.
In the room. Oh yeah, that was one of my favorite lectures. Yeah.
That's why it's called Fun Incorporated, because it was fun.
Oh, we had all sorts of fun sayings like "It's time flies when you work for fun," and we don't work for money; we work for fun.
Yeah. I want to ask Geoff something about talk about fun, some humor, and some puns. But first of all, John, do we have anybody on Facebook there who has been posting anything or said hello?
Well, let's see. We have hellos from Greg Phillips and Eric Schmidt and Scott Christoffel. Lynn Skelton says it's her first time here and to go and support your local magic dealers. And Matthew Alexander here, we were speaking of magic businesses damaged during a recent unrest. The former Magicopolis, now known as the Illusions Magic Lounge, was hit pretty hard during the unrest in Los Angeles. Right. Steve Spill had sold that a little while ago to, I believe, Randy Synott, and rebranded Magicopolis as the Illusions Magic Lounge.
I'm glad you mentioned that by coincidence, that Steve's going to, I'll give everybody kind of a preview. The next week, Steve's going to be my guest on this program.
Awesome.
He's in Hawaii now, and he couldn't join us tonight because he's actually closing on a house in Hawaii. So he said, I'll be on there next week. So he'll be our guest next Thursday.
Roland Jarvis says, have you heard about Marvin? And no, we haven't heard about Marvin's Magic Theater, that Jeff Hobson's theater in California. Type it in, Roland, and I'll read it out.
Jarvis was one.
That is, I don't know if he's asking me if I've heard about it or if there is any news about it. I haven't heard any news about it.
But I haven't either. We know about Jeff's theater.
Yeah, and Jeff Hobson, another member of the Abbott's Magic family.
Exactly.
Who there was a famous year about where the contestants in the stage contest were Matt King, Jeff Hobson, and Jeff McBride, I believe. McBride. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a famous year.
And who was it that won?
I think it was Hobson, wasn't it?
I don't know. That was before my time.
Yeah, long before my time, but I'm sure each of them would claim it was them. So. Okay. Sorry to be a downer. Roland Jarvis writes, Marvin Roy has gone to the hospital with a heart attack. And of course, the next part says, don't read it as it may be too sad. Okay, I'm an idiot for reading that.
You put that at the beginning.
He buried the lead.
Yeah, he did. Okay, I'm an idiot,
my,
Roland.
that's
I'm
too
sorry
bad.
about that.
Don't you
I
know?
think
Well, but no, we all need to be thinking about Marvin, and
Yeah.
we need to be sending, positive vibes and, whatever you can do, because the guy's a legend, and we
what
need
is
to
he,
support him.
94 or 98? I mean, or not 98. He's 94 or 5, something like that. I know that. No, I take that back. Walter Blaney is 92, and I think that he is the same age. So I'm guessing that Marvin's 92.
Wow.
I think Marvin actually had a candle act before electricity was invented. This is what I heard. It's just
Yeah.
what I heard.
he was Mr. Gaslight,
Mr. Yeah, I think that
Mr. Limelight.
Mr.
Yeah.
Limelight.
I think he was the magician on Noah's Ark.
Well, I heard you could do pretty well if you did strolling magic around the covered wagon circles.
Yeah, if you do the floating two sticks rubbing together trick. Always a crowd pleaser.
Always a crowd pleaser around wagon roundup. So, Geoff, I know that you for years have been posting, and I don't know how you do it, and I admire you for it, the puns that's the
Hear,
daily
hear.
pun that I am so glad that you do that. It puts a smile on my face. If people don't subscribe to your Facebook page, they should go like it immediately and tell us some of the puns or talk about how that developed.
How I got started with puns was I went and John Archer's a buddy of mine, and he said, you got to check out Tim Vine
John
in
who?
England. John Archer.
I never heard of him.
Yeah, he's a no one, but
Yeah.
I hope he's watching. He's a no
I
one.
hope he is too.
Yeah, but he said you got to check out Tim Vine because John worked with Tim
Yeah,
Vine. Or
he
still
was his
does,
opening
or
act for a
something.
while, and Tim Vines was
Exactly.
like Jerry Seinfeld over there in England.
And so Tim, it's like his whole show is just puns.
Yeah,
And puns are by nature, they're groaners. Okay?
kind of like
Sorry?
Stephen Wright type of things, right?
Right. So,
One-liners kind of thing.
yeah, and they're just so they can't be the doo-doo kind of thing. And I thought, oh my gosh, this guy's act is puns. And so I started watching it, and at first I'm like, oh, okay, that's a groaner. Oh, that's a groaner. After a while, I'm laughing.
Yeah.
And then a while later, I'm laughing big. And this is what I discovered. If you're caught off guard, it's a groaner. If you know a pun is coming, it's hilarious. So in my show now, so I started writing puns. I found out for some bizarre reason that I had a penchant toward writing puns. I don't know why that is. And in my show, in my big 55 and older community show, I've got a guitar on one side. And it's for those of you who came here expecting to see a musician instead of a magician, I'm going to do a couple of tunes over here. You guys can shut your ass.
I'm here too, Geoff.
And then on stage left, I've got a mic stand with a sign attached to it that says puns only. And I'll walk over there, I'll rip off 5 or 6 puns and then go back to them. So the middle stage is comedy and magic. You got music on stage right, and you got puns on stage left. So it's a true variety act now.
Right.
But I just love the idea of crafting a good pun, and I've got some. I can read some if you want to hear some.
I would love to. Yes. Yeah.
These are some recent ones. My friend is so tired of online church. I think he's a bored again Christian. People are upset that they're using jumbo-sized cards in our local casino. What's the big deal?
Big deal.
Yeah, this was one of my favorites. As I left the cardiologist's office, I met Dwayne Johnson in the parking lot. I was between a rock and a hard place. My friend wanted me to help correct his Irish accent. I said, if it's not brogue, don't fix it. Why don't I buy dehydrated grapes? For personal reasons. The dominatrix outfit my wife ordered was brand spanking new. I failed my beginner sketch class, so I guess it's back to the drawing board. I have a friend who likes to stand on top of barns and point into the wind. He's so vain. He probably thinks this joke is about him. So anyway, I don't want to...
That one had a kicker.
Yeah, I like that.
In case people are eating, I don't want to do any more of them. But
Well,
if you do like that sort of thing, friend me on Facebook. I'm nearing my 5,000, but I can kick John and Jania off of it to be able to get you guys working.
Yeah, we've had enough.
Yeah. And but if I do one every day, I've done over 3,700 puns.
Wow.
What's your long-term plan? I mean, why are you doing this? I know you like to do it and you're posting it. Do you have like a book in mind? What is your plan?
Creative exercise. No, it's just a creative exercise. My wife says you should do a book, but they don't stop. So at what point, because I know as soon as I send the book to the printer to be, I'm going to do the pun of the year. Okay?
No, you could be like Steve Beam, with semi-automatic card tricks. He's got number 1 through 17 or whatever,
Yeah, good. Well, it's Michael Rubenstein, a friend of mine who has been doing puns. He sent me a couple of his books. And so I was like, okay, maybe I should do a book. I don't know, but I got so many of them that have pictures now. So I've been throwing in all sorts of crazy graphics in with some of my puns. So I've got whitewater giraffing. It's a raft with a giraffe's head on it. I know, it's really bad. Ironing Man. So you got Iron Man, but he's posing on the top of an ironing board with an actual iron. That music is so awesome. How can I get that in the book?
You can hire me.
There you go. Profits down the drain.
Here's what I'm thinking. In the book, each pun comes with a QR code, and then the scanner will play the audio cue.
And we can do scratch and sniff puns as well.
So what pun is coming out tomorrow? What's new?
Oh, I don't know if I can share it. Can I share it? You guys want to be the first ones to hear it?
I think both of us. I mean, all 4 of us. I mean, how many people? We got a few people over there?
Oh, yeah, we got a bunch. We got, 14 on Facebook.
All right.
Okay, well, this one that I'm thinking about, because I've got like 200 in the hopper, but not all of them I don't like all of them. I only like about 15 of them. But this one I'm thinking about doing. It's I found a website that features thousands of free sound effects. It has all the bells and whistles. So anyway, that one might come out tomorrow. We'll see. Now I actually have to post it since I said it.
You do. Now you've got a lot of these things in reserve. Obviously, I mean it's kind of like my podcast. I'm not struggling for each week. I've got a few in the can ready to go. I assume that you have several.
Oh
ready.
Yeah, I've got over a week's worth just sitting here on my computer ready to post at any point. So it's, but the other night, I mean, I woke up at like 2:30 in the morning and I thought, that is an amazing pun. I've got to write it down, because how many times have you come up with, like these incredible ideas and you didn't write it down, and then you go, what was that, right? So I grab my phone and I crawl under the covers because I don't want my wife to see the light. I go in there and I type really, really poorly, because usually I voice record all this stuff. So I typed the pun and I thought, oh, that's pretty good. Set the phone down, rolled over. 30 seconds later, another pun. You gotta be kidding me. I did not get back to sleep. I did like 40 puns between 2:30 and the time I got up. And it's like, forget it. So
wow.
Sometimes you can't turn it off. And that can be a bad thing. It can be a very good thing. And if for some reason, if inspiration strikes, find a way to record stuff, just because who knows, maybe someday it's going to pay off. So I'm over 3,700 now. And,
well, I've got a pencil and paper beside my bed. So when I wake up in the morning, I jot down things to do, that I'm going to do for the day, to-do list.
So pencil and paper, help me out.
They still have those?
Well,
Oh my God! Is that Is it a pull starter? Is it what?
And
Crank.
paper.
What the?
I'm probably the only dorky one that still does this. I keep paper at the side of my computer and I still write things down on it.
Oh,
I still
I mean, I have this cup of scissors and pencils and things, but
shut up.
I
You
never
do
use
not.
it.
Yeah, but I bet nobody has this tape dispenser.
Oh my
I
gosh.
do not.
No,
Scott Wells wants this tape dispenser.
I love
That
that.
is a nice one. Yeah, I've got Binky, the super intelligent mind-reading chicken pen. Let me see if I can somehow get this to where you can see him. It's Binky from my act.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it was an actual pen. It used to light up when you turned it, but it.
so Eric Schmidt wrote in a question. He came in a little bit late, and he says, "I'm not familiar with everyone in the cast. Could you go around and introduce yourselves?"
John?
Well, hello. I'm John Sturk, Chicago magician, improviser, vaguely comedian. In addition to performing magic, I play the keyboards for my own jazz trio, and also for many of the improv theaters in Chicago. I have worked at the Second City. I've worked at the IO Theater, and I'm currently still doing shows, virtual improv shows with Comedy Sports. And I am also going to be taking over as the National Second Vice President of the Society of American Magicians at the end of this month.
And
So,
you are also with the national. Go ahead.
yeah, that's what I said. I'm going to be the National Second Vice President.
Oh, the national. Yeah, I thought you said
Yeah.
local. Sorry.
No, here in Chicago, I've been the president of our local assembly. Last 2 years, I've been the regional vice president of the Midwest, and now I'm going up to national second vice president and climbing the ladder of success there at the SAM.
And on track to be president, what, 3 years?
Well, I don't want to be too presumptive, but if everything kind of goes according to schedule and I don't get instantly impeached for any reason, 2023.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jania?
I'm Jania Taylor. I reside in northern Michigan, Harbor Springs, the Great Tundra. I have been performing magic for 37 years. I was the third female to take the Chevez course in magic under Neil Foster. It's a manipulation course. I earned my living 100% performing magic. I consider myself a general practitioner. I have 4 educational shows for schools and libraries. Unfortunately, they're all on hold. I have a couple of character shows that I do. I'm Wanda the Wacky Witch at Christmas, at Halloween, on Christmas Carol at Christmas time. And then I have a Frontier Girl, Charmin J, that I do for reenactment festivals. And I consider myself and I'm the great lecturer. I have a lecture on the history of women in magic.
And you're a snow skier, too.
That's right, and I teach part-time ski lessons downhill.
Geoff Williams, who are you?
I live in North Michigan because I grew up in northwestern Ohio. The skiing's not so good there.
Yeah, that's true. Geoff Williams.
Oh, great. Well, spoiler alert. My name's Geoff Williams. I'm a corporate comedy magician. I was a comedy writer. I did top 10 lists for David Letterman. I've been performing now, I think, for 32 years. And so variety of stage as well as close-up. Performed at the Magic Castle. I'm a 4F member. Been all over the world, including Colon, Michigan.
You're here?
Oh, yeah. And this is my full-time job. I absolutely love what I do. This is, it's my dream job. I can't think of anything else that I would really, really want to do other than this. So,
have you ever had another job outside of magic?
I have. I was an Apple authorized service technician.
Were you in the Genius Bar?
No, it was pre to that. So back in 1984, I worked at a computer land way back when. And
Mr. Robot.
yeah, they actually came out with the Mac, and everybody there was PC, and they were like, "Oh, give it to Geoff." I'm like, "What?" And so it had a mouse on it. Nobody knew what a mouse was. It was like freakishly weird, and I just gravitated to it and loved it. And to this day, I still program on the Mac. So I'm a huge Mac head. I totally believe in the whole thing. I've drank the Kool-Aid, and I'm all the way in. I've got an iMac right now, 27-inch, that's doing the camera thing right now. Absolutely adore it. But I used to work on all of the old, laser printers and all of the old
dot matrix
Macs and iMacs and dot matrix, and the whole 9 yards. I mean, it was just.
You remember the TI, those little TI computers?
Oh yeah. I never had one of those. My very first computer was a VIC-20, Commodore VIC-20, and then I had a Commodore 64, and that's where I really learned to program. And so went off from there. So
yeah, back then when you had a 256K, that's all the memory you ever need the rest of your life.
Oh yeah, I had a friend who had a 10 megabyte hard drive.
Wow.
And we were thinking, what in the world are you going to do with all of that storage? Only the government needs that much. 10 megs. I mean, seriously, we've come a long way. So it's good. Wait, because we're sleeping indoors.
Yeah. And to round this out, I'm Scott Wells, and I am the host of the magicwordpodcast.com. If you haven't started listening, you should. And you should also subscribe to the Pod Letter, which is something I had invented, a newsletter for the podcast. But basically, and performer at Magic Castle, Magic Island, Magic Circle. I'm a member of the Magic Circle with Gold Star, and have been published in all the Magic magazines and Jania and Blinking Ring and Mum and et cetera. I used to be a columnist for Magic Magazine for the convention column for a long number of years, and just been full-time professional and enjoy performing mainly for corporate audiences. I haven't done birthday parties really for decades, except unless they happen to be a corporate client of mine. That's something that I was going to be doing as a favor for them, and doing trade shows and that kind of a thing. So anyhow, that's.
Oh, I want to say something. I want to say, Scott, would you tell everybody about having the president of the United States come over to your house to mess around with magic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That George W. Bush, when I lived in Midland, Texas, that his dad was the president at the time, and he was running his dad's oil company called Arbusta Oil Company, Arbusta being Spanish for Bush, I understand. And he, I was one year we had, this was in West Texas, Midland, Texas. And as the theme for the United Way one year, we had, thanks to you, it works like magic. And so each week in the newspaper that I would be above the headline, above the title, and the banner basically, where I would be on a stage and producing rabbits in order to show how much percentage we have raised towards 100% of our goal in raising money for the United Way. And so there were rabbits strewn behind the stage. Well, back then I had a handlebar mustache. Well, anyhow, that each week that we would meet with other companies who were donating money to the United Way. And so George was the chairman of the United Way. I was what I call, I guess, the theme master, if you will. And he was also a friend of mine because he went to our church, and his children, his twins, were in the same Sunday school class as my younger son. And I think they had a crush on him way back when. But anyhow, and Laura was a great lady. She was in our church then as well. But anyhow, that I remember that George would come over each week to rehearse what we were going to be doing for the upcoming weekly report of how much money that the United Way had raised. In other words, that companies would come and say, okay, well, we are this far from our goal. And so I would, for an example, cut and restore his tithes. Okay, well, we're at 20%. Well, next week we hope to be like at 35%, and we hope to be, the following week at 70%, but right now we're starting at the very beginning. And then I restored his tithe, kind of a thing. And that one time that I had presented put him on a Super X levitation or suspension. And underneath it, I had a dollar bill cut out and also a United Way symbol. And I was talking about him being the representative of the United Way and saying that if, without the United Way support, without the money, it would just be you, supporting him. And without your help, he would have no visible means of support whatsoever. And I'd pass the hoop over him. But thanks to your help and thanks to the money that your companies are giving, he's able to be supported. And also, pulling his shirt off his back, he's willing to give the shirt off his, George is willing to give the shirt off. So anyhow, he used to come over to the house and we'd rehearse things. And I remember one time he came to the house and we were having dinner and, my older son at the time, Sean, and he had, said, "Hey, Sean, what do you have for dinner?" And he just opened his mouth and goes, like he was showing him. But he was just a great guy, great Christian man. One of the things that we had done also prior to this, on the very first day, we actually made a prediction as to how much money that was going to be raised by the United Way at the end. So I made a seal prediction, wrote it on a business card, and put it in an envelope, and so did he. And then each week at the meetings, that when we came back together, the sheriff would report, yes, that this is still in a sealed envelope and in the vault back at the office. And so at the final time, whenever we all got together, we raised the money. It was like, I don't know, $1,235,075.65 or 75 cents or whatever. And so what happened was whenever he did it, it's like, okay, well, he had guessed like 1.1 million and he was off by a couple $100,000 or something. And they opened up mine and mine was 75 cents off. And so I reached in my pocket, I pulled out 3/4 and I said, here, I hate to be wrong. And so I made it perfect, then that way. The cool thing about that was the lead in the newspaper the next day was talking about how we had made 100% of our goal. And the first paragraph of the above the fold was, and Scott Wells had predicted that they would have this exact amount. It was so cool. But there were several times, back then, and it was a small city, less than 100,000 people. And so I was a big fish in a small pond. And I remember my son saying one week, is there something wrong with your job? I haven't seen you on television or in the newspaper or heard you on the radio or anything, because I used to do a lot of promotion. I was the magician and the entertainer basically in the Midland and Odessa areas, because I also taught a local class in magic at the local colleges at Midland College and Odessa College. And so anyhow, so that's my story.
I had never heard that story, and I'm very glad I have.
Thank you. He has remained friends for a long number of years. George is a great guy. Laura's great. And I remember one time when Kathy and I were in Dallas, and they were George was the grand marshal of the parade. Now, he was the governor. Of course, before he became president, he was the governor. Funny thing was, he had run for representative up in West Texas, and he had lost. And in fact, that he told me one time, he said, "You're more successful as a magician than I am as a politician." And I used that for the longest time as a testimonial on my website, because he had lost several elections and I had been successful as a magician. So anyhow, we were in Dallas, and I remember being on the side of the street, and he was the grand marshal, and Laura was sitting beside him, and she points, "Hey, there's Scott and Kathy over there." And he got down and came over and shook hands, said, "Hey, how's it going?" And so anyhow, it's just, we've been friends for a long time. He's just a great guy, great Christian man, and just someone I admire. So it was always kind of funny whenever that I would watch him on television. Kathy and I'd be watching TV and saying, as he was moving up from becoming governor and then president and then won a second term, it's like, that's just George. He's just like, any of the four of us. He's just another guy, you know. I mean, who happened to be at the right place at the right time, and I don't know, just a great guy. So yeah, it's kind of funny.
Actually, I wanted to bring up something before that, is because so I'm sitting here with three full-time performers, and I am not. I have a day job. I tried to make a go of it. It didn't really work out, and I went back to having a day job. And I used to think for a long time that if you weren't a full-time making your living at magic person, that you weren't a magician, or maybe you couldn't really call yourself a magician if you weren't making a full-time living at it. And it took me a while to realize that that wasn't true.
Right.
I got there finally.
Yeah, no,
But-
definitely, because you've got Larry Jennings, who was a plumber. You've got Ed Marlowe, who was an amateur. You've got John Bannon, who's only recently become full-time because he was a lawyer the whole time, as well as
Yes.
Simon Aronson. You've got Alex Elmsley, who was an amateur. You've got all of these. In fact, some of the greatest magicians in the world were just amateurs. And of course, amateur comes from the amar, you know, which is to love. They do it because they absolutely love it. It doesn't have anything to do with lesser quality or anything like that.
Right.
So if you're an amateur out there, you know, congratulations. We need all of the amateurs that we can get, because some of them are legends.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
you know, if you took a look at the roster of any magic convention, the number of full-time professionals at the convention is going to be what? 1, maybe 2%. Then you have another 10% who are part-time professionals, as Gene Anderson coined the term.
Right.
People who work professionally but don't make their full-time living at it. And then the rest, hobbyists who do it, or amateurs who do it for the love.
And those are a lot of people also who have contributed a lot to our art with some great creative ideas, because they've had the time to kind of work on this. And then to your point, John, of what Gene Anderson had coined, that phrase of the part-time professional, is that whenever that you're performing, that you are performing as a professional. You're not an amateur. You are doing a professional job. It's just you happen to be doing it on a part-time basis. And in fact, I'm glad you mentioned that. I had one of the people who had sent me, one of the listeners sent me an email saying, could you talk about being a part-time professional? What is it like, making that transition? And I just spoke with someone who is coming up in an upcoming episode about being a part-time professional, someone who is doing this on a part-time basis, but he's also very successful as a full-time magician, not only performing, but creating things and selling things and doing a lot of other stuff. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people who you may think are full-time professionals, but are part-time professionals. And again, you'd be surprised about some of the guys, how good they are, who actually are doing this on a part-time basis, and their full-time job is something else.
And we all didn't start out as full-time professionals. You know, I started out as an amateur or part-timer, had jobs along the way. So you just don't become a professional overnight and 100% make your living at magic. It's something that you have to work your way into. And then you go, oh, look, I've got enough money, or I shouldn't say enough, I have enough jobs to support myself to be 100% professional. I mean, or even not even just 100% professional, but 100% earn my living performing magic. So, I mean, it's you just have to come up through the ranks too.
So when I was faced with the choice to go back to having a day job, what I realized was that having the day job allowed me to do performances that I wanted to do. And I certainly know a lot of full-timers who go from part-time professional to full-time, and they get magic burnout. And when that happens, there's no way to take a break from it, because now you rely on it full-time for your income. So the way I and it took me a while to come around to thinking this way, but I finally made it, that for me at least, having a day job enables me to do the side projects that I want to do. So whether it's improv music, whether it's the jazz combo with the organ, or whether it's doing magic performances, or being involved with the SAM, all of those are enabled because I don't have to focus so much on getting the gig. Like Jania's lecture is titled "Getting the Gig is a Full-Time Job."
Mm-hmm. Good point. Yep, I like that. Well, listen, before we wrap up, and we've been here for a little while, John, are there any other comments or any people say hello or we need to address?
Cameron Ramsey is here.
Hey,
He
Cam.
says hello. Yeah. He said he didn't know about the George W. Bush story. And Wayne Taylor was during Jeff's story about being an Apple tech, says, I had a Commodore Amiga.
That's going way back.
I only got a Nintendo Switch like last year. Now, I'm not to say I'm not very tech savvy. I'm an Apple fanboy. I've got all the stuff, but I wasn't so much into the video games until I was faced with having a really long plane ride. I was like, I'm going to need something else. So,
right.
And now, because of everybody had been locked in, staying at home, Nintendo Switch became the thing that a lot of my friends were into. So it was a nice social, a nice way to stay socially connected with my other friends who are under stay-at-home orders.
Before we leave, one thing I'd kind of like to ask and poll everybody over here: what is it that you're watching or binging, or that you have recently binged, like on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something? What's some show that you've seen? Anybody?
Well, I got a bunch of favorites. One I saw recently was on Netflix called Space Force.
Yep, with Steve Carell.
Have you seen Space Force with Steve Carell?
Yeah. I blew through
Very
that.
funny.
Yep.
That was
like
great.
The Office. A lot like The Office.
Yeah.
Written by the same guy, in fact.
Yes, that's right. And another one of my favorites is on Hulu called Letterkenny, Canadian sitcom, basically. And then I also just restarted Doctor Who from starting in 2005. So I'm gonna just kind of continue.
Is that going back with David Tennant?
Before him, the year before him, it was this guy named Eccleston.
Yes, yeah, Eccleston.
The ninth
Eccleston.
Doctor.
Yeah.
And then Tennant was the 10th. Yeah.
Okay, Jania.
Honestly, I am not a TV watcher. I'm a reader.
What are you reading?
I don't even own cable. We don't even have cable, and I just finished a great. It's not. It wasn't even a novel. It was called The Pioneers, and it was all about how Ohio was settled and the Ohio Company and Marietta, the town of Marietta, which is on the Ohio River, was settled. I just finished reading that. I have the new Susie Wanda's book. I've been doing a lot of gardening now that the snow has melted in northern Michigan, and I binged clean.
Jeff, how about you?
Well, my wife and I have been totally into Schitt's Creek.
Yeah!
Yeah, on Netflix. I tell you what, it's the reason to have Netflix, just for that alone. But then we also like this show with Kristen Bell in it called The Good Place.
Hear, hear.
Right,
and it's got so many twists and turns, and it's so lovable. The thing that we realized about Schitt's Creek recently was that every character in that show could have their own series. Mm-hmm. And it would be amazing. That's how good you got Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy and his son are in it, and Chris Elliott, and it's just a hoot. I just love it. We absolutely adore it. So, I mean, if you haven't seen it, try the very, very first episode, and if you don't like it, walk away, but we're warning you, you will. It's just that good.
Obviously, everyone's already seen Tiger King, so I don't need to...
Yeah, I saw that.
I am TV illiterate.
Can you imagine, though, Nicolas Cage doing that? He's actually scheduled to do the movie. I don't know if it's going to be a made-for-TV movie or if it's going to be a theatrical release. He's supposed to be Joe Exotic. I don't know whoever's casting. I just want to know what they're drinking because I want
Oh
some
my
of that.
God.
Well, one of the things I've just recently gotten into that I'm way behind on, and that's Deadwood. And of course, that has Ricky Jay in it.
Right.
And that was like in 2004. There are several other things. I mean, Ozark, and there's a great movie, Extraction, I just watched, with on Amazon Prime. Lots of really good stuff. I just watched Homeland with Julia Roberts, the 2 seasons. A lot of things that are out there. So yeah, I mean, I've kind of blown through just about a mental. What is that called? There was a great series for 2 seasons that was that my buddy Jamie Salinas had reminded me of. I'd already actually seen. That was about how that they had developed the BAU, the behavioral unit in with the FBI.
Yeah.
Mental. Oh, can't think of what the name of that is right now. Anyhow, that was really good. I would recommend. Anyhow, a lot of really good stuff. So listen, thank you guys very much. I'm glad that you could be here, for this. Just a reminder, by the way, that today that on the podcast that we had a excellent conversation with Ryan Kane, and we were talking about his new book called Out of Stock, which is a book about trying to get rid of some of the stock and hack lines that you have in your show and to write some creative things. And next week, we're going to feature Michael Close. So that's going to be really great. So be sure to listen to Mike coming up for next week. And I've got a lot of other people, another 8 or 9 weeks in advance already. With a lot of people home, I'm able to contact some folks. So I've got some really great things in the can that I know that you're all going to enjoy. If you haven't subscribed to the pod letter, go to themagicwordpodcast.com. Be sure and subscribe to the pod letter so this way that you're up to date as to what's going to be happening as this week and next week, and also some suggestions from the archives. And you get to sign up for different contests. For an example, right now, the Mark D'Souza, we're completing between now and next week. We're going to be we're still taking a few names to enter the contest for Mark, who's giving away a copy of his book, D'Souza's Deceptions, and also his 4 DVD set from L&L Magic. So if you just go to the website at themagicwordpodcast.com, you can enter the contest there. So anyhow, if you guys have any last words to say or any magic words or anything other than cheers.
Quickly, just since we started out talking about the get-together and the get-together, Abbott's get-together being postponed until next year, and that, yes, some of us are still showing up in Colon to vacation. If anybody would like to find out kind of what's going to go on during Magic Week, you can check out the Facebook page, Magic Capital 2020, to find out what might be going on if you do show up to vacation in Colon during the first week of August.
Right.
I put a link for it in the Facebook chat.
Excellent.
And I would just like to leave the words of the great Tom Mullica, who said, no matter how many friends you have, no matter how popular you think you are, the size of your funeral will depend on the weather.
Right. I remember him also saying that Captain Hook died of jock itch. Listen, thank you very much, John Sturk. Thank you, Jania Taylor. Thank you very much, Geoff Williams. And I'm Scott Wells. And so until next week, this has been Magic and Martini Thursday. Thanks very much for joining us for a virtual happy hour over here. And so let's hold up our glasses over here and say cheers. Thank you very much. Great seeing you guys. Cheers,
I'm
everybody.
just about empty. Cheers.
Me too.
Yeah, mine's
I'm getting
gone.
low. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Scotty out.